What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Before we dive into this, I actually want to start this video a little bit differently than I typically do. And I want to start it with a quote. The quote is from the book entitled The Way of the Superior Man. There is a subtitle and an author's name, that both of which are slipping my mind right now. If you know it, you can leave it in the comments, that'd be cool. With that out of the way, here's the quote. Without a conscious life purpose, a man is totally lost, drifting and adapting to events rather than creating events. And I'll be honest with you all, 100% honest with you all. I've tried recording this video about 12 times, I think now, and I listened to this audiobook the other day. I apologize if you hear the train going by. That might happen a few times throughout the video. And even now, that quote still hits me in my feels. Because when in my early adulthood, I was a boy who felt lost. I was drifting along, just hoping, begging for anybody to save me. It's like in the movies when someone's shipwrecked and they're just floating along in the ocean and they'll do anything for someone to save them. That was me, but like every day of my life, in every way, shape, and form. I was a sad little boy, and my actions, in a way, my demeanor, my energy was just like begging for anybody to help me. And even the last word he uses, adapting. I love the word, I love the quote, but adapting is not necessarily the right word to describe what I was experiencing. Adapting, to me at least, implies that you are adjusting, you are maneuvering around life's situations with unwavering conviction on who you are and not compromising on that. But what I did was conform. I conformed to everything and everybody around me, abandoning and rejecting myself every step of the way, losing myself even more. But the word is conforming. I conformed. So when I had the idea for this video, it kind of just came to me earlier today. It's like, make a video for men. If you're a man struggling with your emotions, watch this, was like kind of the idea that came to me. It felt like a calling. It felt like God pointing, like, that's the next move for you. And then a question showed up in my mind. Why should anybody listen to you? Why should men listen to you, Tyler? And so if you're watching this right now and you're asking yourself that question, I have an answer. I have no idea. I genuinely have no clue yet. I could throw some darts at a wall, but I wouldn't be hitting a target right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my experiences from the sad little boy energetically begging for people to save him to integrating that sad little boy and stepping into my divine masculine energy, rewiring my mind from boy psychology to man psychology, and owning with unwavering conviction who the fuck I am. Stepping into the darkness in my soul, forging the man I am today in the fire, stepping into the fucking gauntlet. You know, I watched a TV show called Arrow, if you've ever heard of it. It's about a superhero or whatever. And there's a scene where the main character, Oliver Queen, has to fight Ra's al Ghul, the demon's head of the League of Assassins. And he challenges him to a trial by combat. When I watched that, I was like, the last like 6-7 years of my life was my trial by combat. Because in our Western, modern, technologically driven society, we do not have the coming of age ceremonies they had for boys in indigenous cultures or tribal cultures back in the day. We don't have that these days. And our culture very much today in the world does not encourage boys to become men. It encourages boys to stay boys and be babies sucking on the nipple of society's teat. I don't know about any of you. If you're here and anything I've said so far resonates with you, if the title or the thumbnail resonates with you, I'm assuming that you do not want that. I'm assuming that you want to step into your own divine masculine energy and own who the fuck you are. So, with that out of the way, now that I said all that, let me get into it. And first, I need to set the frame for this video and say this, like, we're multifaceted humans. We're multifaceted beings, right? Like, we are humans. I have a body, you can stab me and I'll die, but there's a mind inside of here, right? My brain thinks thoughts all the time. And then there's my consciousness that is experiencing all of it, right? There's multiple layers to our being. And so what I'm about to take you through in my own journey was me experiencing all those and learning how to honor each individual part and learning how to, in that, listen and hear and honor my emotions. There's what at least feels like a truth in the world to me, that naturally and intuitively emotions come easier to women. They just feel them, or at least for the most part. I think it at least seems like women are drifting away from that, but that's a topic for a different day. As men, we are more of the doers. We're like, what kind of actionable steps can I take? Like creating systems and doing the yard work and paying the bills. A core value of what it means to be a man to me is to protect and provide. And in today's world, it doesn't just have to mean like physically protecting your woman or your family or the people you care about. It could be emotionally as well. I didn't have somebody growing up that taught me how to understand my emotions, because in order to teach somebody that kind of skill set, you have to be the embodiment of it. I didn't have a role model. The men in my life weren't particularly emotionally in tuned. And so I was always more focused on, or let me rephrase, I was identified with who I thought I was. So let me kind of take a step back really fast to that frame I set, right? So we have the human part of us, our mind that is thinking thoughts, and then the consciousness that is the life force energy coursing through us, giving us life everywhere and anywhere. Right? So there's the human, this vessel I'm in. There's who I think I am, so Tyler and Tyler Egan, right? And the humanness of me, this physical flesh being that I am, feels all kinds of shit all the time. The who I think I am, my mind interprets those feelings, and then the consciousness is just a witness to all of it, right? And so with that frame in mind, we're taught to just be who we think we are. And who we think we are is often the things that we do. Like, if this resonates with you, I'll drop a comment down below. Like, when I ask you, who are you? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it your job? Is it your role in your family? Is it your identity? I'm a husband, I'm a boyfriend, I'm a partner, I'm a manager, I'm a press operator, that's my job, I'm a personal trainer, What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Is it not what you do? And we're all taught this, men and women alike, but men more specifically, we are, generally speaking, more mind identified. So that was very much the case for me. I was mind identified. I wasn't the being I am today. My feelings were irrelevant. I was what I did in any and every single way. And so by the time I was 25, 26, 27, somewhere in there, I'm 30 now, to give you context, I started to realize that like my mind was fucking chaos. Again, there's videos all over my channel about like my story and stuff like that. So if you want to check those out, please do. There's one about healing my body and healing my mind, where I dive deeper into my story, and then like why I quit personal training and stuff like that. I'll put links down below. But by the time I was like 26, 27, I realized my mind was in sheer chaos. So I started to work on rewiring my mind to like more empowering things. And that was great, it worked. But it didn't get rid of the agonizing pain and suffering that I was feeling internally, because I didn't have the awareness of my own emotions, the emotional awareness, if you will, to be able to create a safe space within myself to feel, right? I didn't know how to go back to that frame I set with the 3 different levels of awareness I talked about. I didn't know how to feel my emotional self, my humanness. Again, as men, we're taught to do. As men, we are taught to be what we do in this society at large. I was so identified with that, I never was being with myself. I wasn't feeling anything. I wasn't feeling through things. I had a heartbreak when I was 20 years old. You know how long it took me to process that? Like 10 fucking years. Not really. It was 8 years. And then the more and more I dove into it, I realized that the unworthiness I felt from that relationship transcended the relationship itself, because it was the same feeling I had felt my entire life. And it all started to fucking click to me, because I started to gain more emotional awareness. So maybe the question right now for you is like, because again, like, I don't know about you all, when I start to go through these things, I'm like, I get tactical. I'm like, okay, cool, you gain emotional awareness. It seems like it helped you, bro. How does this help me? How am I supposed to gain some emotional awareness? Well, I actually just filmed a couple videos on the MME YouTube channel. There's a link down below. Maybe I'll put a card up talking about some of the basic psychological, or let me rephrase, mental mechanisms behind how we handle feelings as human beings. You can watch that to gain that better understanding, but we suppress emotions, we repress emotions or feelings, we escape or we express them. The information's out there, right? We understand that expressing emotions is healthy. Women naturally do this, but as men, we could be taught that. But again, we don't just learn from information, we learn from watching other people do it. As children, we are sponges. We're not just soaking up the information people are telling us, we are soaking up the embodiment that other people live their life by. And so you have to begin to practice feeling into your emotional body, into your humanness. And that was what so much of my journey was about. And the more and more I dove into it, the more and more I realized there's a lot of darkness in here. Now, I'm not saying it's the case for everybody, but like there was a lot of dark energy within me. I don't know if I said it because I've recorded this so many times, but like I felt so much hatred in my heart. I don't use that word loosely. There was genuine hate for myself. I'm getting emotional as I say, it's like I'm tearing up. It's like inside of me for the person I saw looking back in the mirror. Like I hated myself. I was disgusted with who I was, who I'd become. And so I had to learn to sit with that. I'm not sure if it has to take this long, but it took me, when I started to awaken spiritually and start to sit in the fire with the darkness, the dark emotions, the dark energies within myself, it took me, I mean, probably about 4 years before it got better. It got so much worse before it got better. And I'm not saying everyone's story will be like this. I'm not saying that it has to take you 4 years. I mean, I genuinely believe if you have the right people holding space for you, the right guidance, you can turn that down to a fraction. And I'm not saying that I didn't even have that kind of guidance. I just chose not to utilize it. It was a part of my journey in this incarnation. It was a part of the journey of this incarnation I'm in, of Tyler, for me to sit in the fire for the most part alone. There were times where people held space for me and I had really good friends and stuff like that. That's totally there. But for the most part, I spent so much time alone, sitting in the darkness with myself, sitting in the fire with my dark energies, the dark emotions inside of me, and cultivating the space around them. And it is that simple, because now I just hear the question showing up for me right now. It's like, well, how do you create space for these darker emotions? Like, that makes sense. Okay, cool. It makes sense. You got to feel the emotions, got to feel the energy. Got it. What do I do next? How do you do that? And that's the thing with being. You can't do being. You just be here for it. And it started for me because I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to be present. I was so focused on doing. I was always doing something for my future. I was always running from my past that I didn't know how to be present. And being present is just being in the moment. And so if you're with me and maybe it resonates with you, that my story resonates with you, you don't know how to be either, well, let's just stop for a moment and practice being. So close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath in and release it. And just notice what's happening in your body. Feel into your body, whether there are tightnesses or pain, if your mind is chattering, or if you're outdoors like me and you can hear nature or the world around you moving. So for example, there's a bird chirping and it feels like it's right above me. I feel some tightness in my right hip, specifically the front of it, and it kind of travels down the right lateral part of my leg. I just felt my right neck tense up a little bit and then I released it as soon as I noticed it. I hear cars going by. And now you can open your eyes. Being present with what is. And being present with what is, for me, in that 4-year period, was sitting with the darkness inside of me. And I tried to avoid it. I would use different forms of escape, like pornography, because I had a lot of shame around my own sexual energy. I don't know if I shared it, but I've shared it on the channel quite a few times. My addiction to alcohol. I would suppress a lot of emotions with specifically anger. I never actually said that out loud before, with alcohol. Then when I quit alcohol, it was weed. And I still enjoy smoking weed, but I've regulated my usage of it, and that's a topic for a different day. I would escape through, working out kind of turned into that for a little bit for me there. Information, learning new information became a form of escape for me. Video games were a form of escape for me. And again, I'm not saying any of these things are bad, but you have to look inward at yourself and be like, am I using this as a form of escape? Am I using this to avoid or suppress emotions? And if you hear that question and you're still with me, your mind will immediately come up with some justification as to why you do it. Well, I like it for this reason, or I need to escape because work was this, that, the other thing. What's the one that I always use? Because there's one specifically. I'm just drained from work, so I want to forget about my problems for a little bit. So I want to watch TV or play video games or whatever it is. You have to be really raw with yourself about why you're doing what you're doing, and then hear your mind's bullshit excuse behind why you're doing it. There's some validity to it. And again, this comes down to honoring the different parts of our being. But you have to become familiar with yourself. You have to become familiar with the energy that's inside of you, the emotions that you have been avoiding. Let me tell you something. The more and more you awaken to your own emotions, those suppressed energies within you, the more and more you'll begin to become angry. I don't know if this is the case for women, but at least as a man, the more and more you awaken to the suppressed energies within you, the more anger will arise within you, because you'll see it in the world around you, and you'll see how the world around you has, I'm gonna say influenced your behavior, but I'm gonna rephrase it in a different sense. It's controlled your behavior. You'll start to see how the world around you is mirroring to you your own suppression of your emotions, leading to your abuse of certain forms of escape, and you'll become angry. And let me tell you something, that's a good thing, because in anger, there is a tremendous amount of energy to change. I used anger for a good portion of the beginning of my journey, like this mosquito is about to catch my anger, to change my behavior. In our world today, it is frowned upon for men to tap into their anger. And let me be very clear about one thing. I do not mean uncontrollable anger where men are lashing out. I do not mean that at all. What I mean is controlled rage, controlled aggression. When you start to see the world mirroring back to you, all of the suppressed energies within you, all of the poor behavior that has led to you maybe in poor physical health, anxiety, or mental illness, and clearly from our conversation, deep emotional wounds and spiritual disconnection, the more and more you see the world mirroring that back to you, the more and more you start to become angry about it, because you may find yourself start to blame the world. Well, my parents did this, my siblings did that, my boss did this, my boss is an asshole, my boss is a blah, my parents are this, you know, whatever it is. Use the anger. Let your mind chatter about whatever it's gonna chatter about, because let me tell you something, my mind blames everybody and everything for all of my problems, but I'm not attached to it. And that's a topic for a different day too. But the point is, use the anger without lashing out at people to, let me rephrase, channel the anger into changing your behavior. Do not push it aside, do not run from it. There is such a thing as healthy anger, like I said, controlled aggression. But first, you have to grab the bull by the fucking horns, i.e., your anger, own it. Then you can start to truly make lasting change in your life. When you own the behemoth, the beast inside of you that is your anger. Again, in our world, in our society, men are taught to, let me rephrase, boys are taught to like not get angry. Mosquito, you're gonna test me, aren't you? And there is a finite amount of men who are a good example of what healthy anger or controlled aggression looks like. Because what we see is on the news, in the media, in the TV shows, is a man with an uncontrollable rage, losing his cool and blowing up, whether he attacks people verbally or physically. You see all the shootings, you see a man mug a woman, all these things, that's all we see. It is impressed upon our subconscious mind at a very young age. And if you don't have a role model around you to see the difference and know the difference, it's hard to know the difference. Therefore, you as a man stepping into your masculine, your divine masculine energy, must take ownership of your anger and grab that fucking beast within you. Because to come back to like the humanness within us all, you are an animal too. I am an animal too. And you have to harness the fucking beast within you. Not become a passive aggressive little bitch. I'm just gonna say what I gotta say. And I don't mean to attack anybody who maybe is passive aggressive. I was passive aggressive for a very long time. So I'm not trying to attack my former self either. But you have to own the anger within you know? So to come back to all that, you have to sit in the darkness. You have to sit in the fire with all the darkness inside of you and start to cultivate emotional awareness, start to cultivate skills for emotional regulation. And if you check out the MME channel, the shameless plug, I suppose, link will be down below. We're talking about those things. I am educating you all on those things over there. So please check that out. But I think I'm gonna wrap the video up there. Y'all, I just wanna be real, like it's not always fucking easy. I find even earlier today, like I found myself wanting to do more things rather than be present with my emotions. And then my mind came up with 15 different things to do, and I was confused and felt indecisive and overwhelmed. The second I stopped, I was like, okay, what's here? What am I feeling? And just felt it. And was the space for the emotion to be felt? Because what you have to understand is, you are not the emotion. You are not you. I am not Tyler. I am the space that the emotions are coming through. I am the space where the experiences are being felt. I am the experience where Tyler can be seen. I am the space where Tyler can do his thing. I am the consciousness witnessing it all. That's what we truly are. And so if we can take a step back for a moment and just be present and hold that space for our emotional selves, the actions will become clearer on what to do next. So start, if there's anything, like, again, as a man, I always want to I want to take action. It's like, okay, what can I do? I learned information. How can I apply this shit today? You can apply it by being present with yourself right now. If you have obligations, do the obligations, right? Like you got work, whatever, if you're listening to this and you got work, like do your thing, but be present with yourself as you're doing the thing. Like if you have to mow the lawn, ask yourself as you're pushing the lawnmower down the lawn, like, what am I feeling right now? And if you can't come up with emotion because you're emotionally disconnected still, that's cool too. What sensations are you experiencing? Can you feel your feet in your shoes as you mow the lawn? Can you feel the sun beating on your skin? Can you feel the sweat pouring down your cheeks, right? Like as you're doing today, because I'm not saying to neglect obligations by saying any of this, be present with the sensations that you're experiencing in your body. That's the homework I'll leave you with. All right, and now I'm gonna wrap the video up. Like I said throughout the video, if you wanna learn more about like arming yourself with the tools for emotional awareness and emotional regulation, we're talking about that on the MME channel. The link will be down below to check that out. I really encourage you to subscribe over there. And if any of this resonates with you on a deeper level and you'd be interested in working with me one-on-one to help guide and facilitate you through your own spiritual awakening, through your own coming of age as a man, there will be a link down below where you can sign up for a one-on-one discovery call with me and learn more about what MME has to offer, how I can help you on this journey, and we can learn more about one another. So with that out of the way, thank you all for tuning in today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And with that out of the way, peace out, y'all.